Welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast live from Studio K, brought to you by our friends at Circle K. It's your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. Couple camp cuties. Bo Brock, co-host. Johnny Venerable, co-host. Damon Dog behind the mic. The very latest from Arizona Cardinal training camp via PHNX Cardinals. Welcome everybody in. Let's cut to the skinny. There was an unfortunate injury that happened toward the end of training camp today. Bo Brock with the very latest on offensive center, Yelda Froholdt, Bo.
Yeah, so Yelda went down. He was rolled up on by a defensive lineman on a passing play that we have up on our Twitter. You can kind of see it in the background of Marvin Harrison Jr. just pulling down an absurd catch. You got to check it out for yourself. But, yeah, getting into the unfortunate issue here that Yelda Froholdt was down on the ground. He remained down. And I think that was at the suggestion of the trainers just to make sure he's all good. Structurally, they were looking at his leg. They got him to his feet, and then Yelda Froholdt left the field on his own power. He was walking off a bit gingerly and down the ramp and into the locker room. Craig Morgan and myself, we were doing a post-practice kind of breakdown, and on our way to that, Craig Morgan sees the Cardinals center just walking out of State Farm Stadium on his own power, nothing on his leg, no wrap, no visual, sign of him having any issues. So Yelda Froholdt looks like he might have avoided something here and hopefully avoids missing time. We'll continue to kind of keep updates on this one, but I think they dodged a bullet here.
Yeah, it sure sounds like it. And again, he's tough as nails. I don't think he missed time, if any, last year, and has been a very tough player for the Arizona Cardinals. So, again, not out of the woods yet, but it sounds like the Cardinals and their standout offensive center avoided worst-case scenario. And again, the stuff happens at camp. The Cardinals are still roughly 6 weeks from playing their first game, Bo Brock. So if he needed time to heal throughout the course of the preseason, he will get that time. And the Cardinals feel like they feel pretty comfortable, Bo, with the signing of Evan Brown. And as you reported on Twitter, he slid over from left guard to center, and then you have to decide then what you do at left guard.
Yeah, so immediately it was Brown moving over from left guard to the center spot, which he has played pretty significant amount of NFL snaps at that spot. And then Isaiah Adams, the big third-round pick out of Illinois, jumped into the left guard spot in place of Brown, who's playing center. And then the offense came out for kind of a walkthrough-esque series before the end of practice, and we saw the Jonathan Gaines get in there at left guard while Evan Brown stayed at center. So Jonathan Gaines, who, Jonathan Gannon was very complimentary of when asked today pre-practice press conference about Gaines and the hard work that he's put in to get back to the playing field after suffering a knee injury in the preseason finale of his rookie year. Even came into the facility to work out with trainers, get checked out during his honeymoon, just married to the game. And a guy I think that they continue to envision a versatile role for him going forward. I don't think it's like visions of, this is our starting left guard, this is our starting future center. I think there's a role here for a versatile interior offensive lineman that they view Jonathan Gaines holding down until he proves to be starter quality at the NFL level.
Damon Pog asking a question I think a lot of people are asking, and I didn't have full confidence in before training camp started. Do you think Gaines makes this roster? And you and I were very much in sync that he had a long way to go, and then yet you watch him and give him credit. I tweeted this out yesterday from Cards Campo. He looks like he's in great shape. Took care of himself when he was coming back from injury, and the mental aspect is so critical. Looks like he's picking up where he left off and then some from last year. If you're asking me now today, I think he makes the team. I'm barring something unforeseen if he's a liability in the preseason, but you don't miss a full year and then come into training camp the next year and you're not handed anything. So what these reps are right now, they're earned reps. Just like, DeMercado at running back, I don't know if he's going to make the team. He's earning reps right now based on his performance and his work ethic and what he's doing in his film study, his pass protection. So, that's the beauty of the non-Keim Cliff regime, but the Austin Ford Gannon regime is it doesn't matter your draft status. I mean, the best players are going to play. So if Gaines is out there consistently getting opportunities, I think that bodes well for him, Bo.
Yeah, you look at the numbers crunch, and that's what we were trying to identify, pre-training camp and see who could be on the bubble. And, we are a show that's not afraid to say where we were wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that John Gaines, with him being absent due to the injury and his rehab, I think his comeback and continues to make impressions on this team behind the scenes. And now that he's back on the playing field, the practice field, and like when you look back at his collegiate career, he was a guy that played every single position on the offensive line, from tackle to guard to center. And then he goes to the NFL scouting combine in 2023, and he proves to be, was he the most athletic offensive lineman in that group? I mean,
yes,
according to his score. And the Cardinals loved his athleticism, his versatility, and what he's got between the ears. Very impressive. And he sounds very similar to maybe be starting a path in the NFL like the guy we talked about, Froholdt. And he's going to be a guy that's just going to need to get some playing time to really kind of emerge and lock in, a consistent role week in and week out for an NFL team, and could be here with the Arizona Cardinals as early as the 2024 season. But I think they've got a role for him, Johnny. I really do. I'll kind of pound that table a little bit harder. Like I think that the role that Gannon said they had, for him last year, this was just after the injury, said we had a role for him. It's kind of the primary versatile interior offensive line backup position, and Swiss Army knife to the interior of the offensive line. So I think that's where they're going with, and with an injury, then it becomes a starting position battle potentially between him and Isaiah Adams.
Well, and you got to figure, next year, Will Hernandez is not under contract. Yelder Froholdt right now is not under contract. Your left guard, Evan Brown, and Elijah Wilkins, who played some snaps for you last year, up and down player that played left guard, is playing some tackle now. So take that for what you will. We did not mention a whole lot about Isaiah Adams. I do want to pivot quickly to the show title today. Off of some veterans, onto some rookies, because for the second consecutive camp, I do believe, Bo, outside of Kyler Murray's performance each and every day, and we're going to get to that later in the show, the rookies are making the headlines right now in a lot of different aspects of it. Now, it's hard not to. You draft 12 players, they're littered all over this roster, and thank goodness for that. But I think it starts and ends right now with the first 3 players that they drafted. I think we said this yesterday. I tweeted this out from camp. It's early. They haven't played a game yet. They just put pads on. You can check a couple boxes that you needed to from the start. Like, there have been times the Cardinals have drafted players, you get on the practice field, the guy can't play. Or in the case of DJ Humphries, you got a long way to go, right? With knee deep that first year. I mean, let's start with Darius Robinson. Let's put MHJ on the shelf for a second. The Cardinals have not had an impact defensive tackle that's homegrown since Calais Campbell. They had a flash in the pan year or two with J.J. Watt. Yeah. What we've seen out of Darius Robinson right now, and I know for a lot of people it's a low bar to clear, like I think he's on his way to becoming the best defensive lineman in that room right now.
Yeah, I give credit where it's due. Like Zach Allen, he emerged. He was his healthiest, unfortunately, going into a contract year, and then he was gone and went and got the bag from the Broncos. And I think he was good, but he wasn't what Calais Campbell was the anchor to those defenses. He was the noise and physicality up front, and obviously size up front that they needed. The rush and cover that the no-fly zone needed. And he did so much. He was a lunch pail guy, and he was a humble guy, and he was a hard worker. I'm talking about Calais Campbell, and you're like, wait, are we talking about Calais or Darius Robinson? And I think that both shows up. I think maybe where the difference is, I think that, Darius is a technician, and then like his just brute physicality, his violence, it was on display today. Like, he started out getting his reps in 11 on 11s with the 2s, and then we saw him get reps with the 1s by the end of practice, because I think he was just making life a nightmare for the interior of the offensive line that were trying to block him today. There were 2 plays where he very well could have gotten home to the quarterback and come up with the sack.
Yeah, you and I were at the Super Bowl this year, and had a chance to connect with him, and just the presence that he had then before really the draft season had kicked off. He had just gotten done dominating the Senior Bowl. You and Damon Dog had watched him in Mobile play against the best interior offensive lineman in college football, dominate Mobile. And he's one of the most humble people that you can meet, addicted to football. Jonathan Gannon praises his schedule, just his love for the game, how everything that he does in his day is to be a better football player and a better person. He's a big believer in his faith and his family. And
I think he just wrapped up his master's. I think he just got his master's.
I mean, he checks every box, and then it's like, okay, yeah, that's great. Let's see him on the field. And now he's checking that box. Like the Cardinals for a long time have had players that you're excited about. Oh, this guy was a captain. Oh, he played in the SEC. And they just, for whatever reason, didn't materialize into anything. Like training camp can expose a lot of people, but it can also, you have that ability to see it. Like you go like that, and you know when a guy has the it quality that Kyler Murray was talking about with Marv yesterday. But I think you can see it with defensive linemen. I think you can see it flash. You mentioned the technique, the physicality, the brute force, right? That's why it was the only draft pick, in my opinion, for the Cardinals. If the Cardinals were not going to trade up for a Dallas Turner or Byron Murphy, and we know they had those conversations, Darius Robinson was the easiest pick to stick and pick, not because of his ceiling, but because of his floor. Like we're seeing his floor on displayed right now after 2 padded practices, and it's pretty damn good. Imagine where he's going to be October, November, December, over the course of an NFL season, over the course of the Cardinals strength and conditioning program next off season, and refining his technique next to guys like Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones. The Cardinals are in a position right now to mold and develop, and I don't say this, hyperbole, their best young defensive tackle in 10 years. Calais Campbell was drafted in 2008. I mean, it's been at least 10 years since they've taken a guy that you can say that guy's got Pro Bowl in his future. He's got contract extensions. Like people are going to say that, fanboying out and jumping to conclusions. Just watch it with your eyes. The Cardinals pride themselves on offensive line play, and we saw it last year, and they played a bunch of different guys. And then you watch the clips from PHNX Cardinals today and what Bo saw with his eyes at training camp. Darius Robinson was abusing people today up front for the defense.
It was. Did you not? You don't want to include Robert Kimdiche in that group? It wasn't
Robert
the
Kimdiche
guy that didn't make it to his fourth and final year of his rookie year, rookie contract. Yeah, it's a different caliber player. It's one that is gonna play often. It's gonna play early. He's gonna start to take his lumps, I'm sure, at some point. But he's gonna become a better player, create calluses. And become just a fixture on the Arizona Cardinals defensive line for the next 4 years, plus the 5th-year option with him being the 27th overall pick, which kind of gets, we overlooked that. We talk about, the advantage with having Marv on that deal, having, a player, hand-in-the-dirt player like Darius Robinson on that deal is going to hopefully work out down the line for the Cardinals, and then extend him, draft, develop, extend. That's the new way of the franchise.
I mean, his 10-yard split in the 40-yard dash was 173 at nearly 6'6", 300 pounds. I guess he weighs in about 290. He bench pressed 225 nearly 30 times. He was all SEC, all academic SEC. And then you watch Missouri last year. Players along the best Missouri team in forever. They've been irrelevant since Chase Daniel said he was the MVP, not of our defense, of our team. Had been there for 5 years and had 14 tackles for loss last year. I mean, he is a tackle for loss machine. And the Cardinals, for so long, they have not had people that can get behind the line of scrimmage and make plays. Typically, they have to send somebody, whether it's Buddha or Kazir White. But if you've got a front four, can your defensive tackle and or your defensive end make a play on a guard or guard tackle combo and abuse somebody with their power and their technique and get home? We always talk, can you get home? Darius Robinson is going to do that for the Cardinals as early as this year. And it's exciting because I was not prepared to sit here this training camp and be patient with this rookie class. Like we talked about how important this rookie class needed to be to have an immediate impact. That's why you housed all those picks if you're Austin Ford. That's why you traded back. And here's the cherry on top. If Darius Robinson it works out for the Arizona Cardinals. If he's a player that they extend, he makes Pro Bowls, it will not matter that CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans had a historic year. It did not matter that pick wasn't top 5 or top 10 or top 20. All that will matter is the player that they selected. And I bet they feel pretty damn good about that player today.
Sure. No, I mean, look, and I think that's what's going to, as people get uneasy, as that draft pick continue to free fall. You realize that Monty Ossenfort's going to be able to find talent no matter where he's selecting in the NFL draft. And I think that's kind of goes back in with what we wanted to kind of open the show with was this 2024 class is showing early that they should be kind of the belle of the 2024 NFL draft ball. Like Monty Ossenfort brought in 12 players, and like the first 3 for sure are going to be impact makers. And I think, the up to the 7th guy can be of that class who are picked first are going to have significant roles throughout the season.
Yeah. To me, again, like we talk about Marv every day on the show. He's in the show title, but it just bears repeating. Like they drafted their number 1 overall pick with the 4th overall pick, and he's already operating as the number 1 overall pick. He dominated targets yesterday. Talk us through training camp today, because we see the highlight on your Twitter on PHNX Cardinals, but modest day for Marv compared to yesterday, would you say?
Yeah, I was a busy boy today with my camera phone, and I was out there, and like Marv's day started. He was wrapping up just pass and catch, quarterback to wide receiver, drills. His final catch or his final route that he ran, he dropped the pass from Kyler Murray, and before like his position group teammates were done running that drill, he jumped back into the group. Like you haven't seen that all camp. Like usually, you go down, either catch the ball or you drop it, and then you go to the other side of the field and then you run back on another route. He circled right back, got back into line, secured the catch, and then came a drill, like an end zone drill, where Kyler Murray was down there working with his primary receivers, starting wide receivers. And, Kyler Murray was dealing early on. Like him and Greg Dortch, you could see that they've worked together for a long time. Their rapport was operating at a high level. We saw it with Michael Wilson. He won his one-on-one matchups with some of the DBs. And then Marv, like it was just off. Like Marv went up against Max Melton, and he couldn't, bring down, I think, 2 attempts at catching a ball in the end zone. And then like when they got into 11s, we saw Kyler and Marv try to link up, and they couldn't. And then they moved to a red zone drill where I think Marv was able to kind of get back on track with that play that we'll show later in the show, where, Garrett Williams is absolutely just, I mean, complete locking coverage on Marvin Harrison Jr., and he's able to go up over Garrett Williams, moss him, and pull down the catch and absorb the hit to the ground and hold on to the football. So I think it was probably Marv's most uneven day, but even those, like I'm sure the people that were out at the live practice that the Cardinals fans there in the stands came away like, Card's got a big time player, Marvin Harrison Jr. You can just see it, even when he's not making plays, just how smooth and fluid he is. And then when he does make those big plays, you're just like, wow, that you can't just get one of those any day of the week in the NFL.
Yeah, there's gonna be NFL Sundays where he has like 60 yards receiving, right? And people are gonna be like, oh, he's human. And then there are gonna be days where he's got 180 and 3 touchdowns. So I think, again, he's a 22-year-old kid. He hasn't played organized football since last November. We outlined it yesterday. He's back playing padded football for the first time, fully padded, since before the Michigan-Ohio State game, which I believe was on November 25th, 2023. So yeah, even the great MHJ gets a grace period. But I mean, to me, you're continuing. You develop that rapport with Kyler Murray and the cadence, and it's already been on display. But now you're doing it against live coverage. And it makes me feel better about Max Melton, who we'll talk about in a second, Garrett Williams, right? And Starling Thomas looked good yesterday. And still need to see a little bit more from like the Elijah Jones of the world, and Sean Murphy-Bunting's having a nice camp. So Cardinals defensive back group, I think, is really competing, and they're very physical, right? Like even in that catch from Marvin, you mentioned it, like being very physically competed against with Garrett Williams, and it takes a miraculous catch, and Marvin bangs his head on the ground, and he was able to pull it in. But I mean, the Cardinals are this is a time in which bonds are made, and this team becomes a cohesive unit. And that's not done through, patty cake. That's done through high intensity football. And there are going to be days where the defense gets theirs and Marvin has an off day. And there are going to be days like yesterday when Marvin's a full grown man making people look silly out in the open field. So
the 2 previous days of that.
Yeah.
He was unguardable.
The number one most important thing is how you led that discussion. And he dropped the ball, wasn't good enough, went back out, caught a ball. And that's what Marvin Harrison Sr. would do. The work ethic, just like Darius Robinson, is 10 out of 10, 12 out of 10. So then well, okay, they have the athleticism, it's off the charts, and they love football. Like, what am I missing here? Like, the most important attributes that we judge rookies typically are talent level, how quickly can they pick up schematics, how well do they take coaching right? Like, it's cliche. You don't have to worry about any of that with this group. And that pivots perfectly onto Max Melton, who, again, like steady camp, running with the ones and the twos, outside corner, incredibly physical. I have not seen him, and you can keep me honest here, Bo, get consistently beat. He's got really good ball skills, and his length is on display, especially. Like he and Sean Murphy-Bunting, you feel the length and the athleticism from your 2 outside corners. I mean, Max Melton, to me, like you put a cherry on top with these first 3 picks they're immediate, if not starters, impact players for this team.
Yeah, and also something that's overlooked, and he'll be sure to tell you about it, is his physicality. Like they were doing a tackling drill, and he can pop the pads just like you're watching a safety. Where the rest of the guys, it's like you don't hear it. Like it's like a pitcher throwing 78. It's not going to pop the mitt like somebody throwing 98. Like you got Max Melton, who's out there and he's physical, and he's already, I think, turning heads in camp, and everything you said was true about it. And he's showing up, and as Gannon said the other day, he's showing the reasons why why he was drafted where he was drafted.
Yeah. To me, he's somebody that Jonathan Gannon, if he didn't hand select Max Melton, it's as close as Gannon will get his hands dirty with a draft prospect. That's a Gannon special, number 16. And people were pounding the table for Kool-Aid. I haven't heard
he's not going to be, and like this is the highest level, right? When we think about cornerbacks, right? And you think about the greats that have played this game, let's just look in our own backyard. Patrick Peterson would not spy. He had number 1 wide receiver assignment during his heyday.
All them around on the
would follow, right? We're not going to see Max Melton do that. Max Melton's going to play in Jonathan Gannon's zone-heavy scheme, and he's going to excel in that. He's not going to be, okay, Justin Jefferson's coming to town. Like, you're going to see them match up. You're going to get your fair share. We've seen Max Melton versus Marv, and it's great. And Max is showing that he belongs, just like he did at Rutgers. But I don't think you're going to see him, like, get number 1 wide receiver assignment, like, and hey, just go play one-on-one with that guy. It's just not going to happen. That's not how they call defense, and that's not what Max Melton's going to kind of make his name and his money in this league for. Like, you got to think like Richard Sherman, right? Can he be like the next Richard Sherman and play like within the system at a high level?
Well, and I would argue, Bo, that's one of the reasons I love that this team, like, they haven't done this yet. I wouldn't draft a corner in the first round if that's your mindset. I would draft them on day 2 and sign them in free agency like a Sean Murphy-Bunting 3-year-esque kind of deal, because this game is won at the line of scrimmage. And not to diminish cornerback play, but the Cardinals have had historically great corners with this franchise. They've lost a lot of games doing that. They have not been able to push opposing teams around up front. Like, give me Darius's and Paris Johnson Jr.'s every year to solidify the game is won in the trenches by big men, and it's won by quarterback play. And so, I love a good receiver, cornerback, running back, but I mean, everything has its hierarchy. And the way they're team building, I'm so bullish on, because you look at this draft class specifically, and it's wide receiver, which is an outlier because of the player that typically wouldn't do that. Defensive line, which I think damn near every other year they're going to look at that position in the first round. And then, okay, let's get a top 50 cornerback with physicality that we need to play a high level in my defense. And then on day 2 later, let's get a couple offensive linemen. Let's get another corner that we feel has some value. Okay, so as we pivot from the first 3 picks to now the offensive lineman out of Illinois, I actually want to start with Tip Ryman, because I think it was, if it wasn't maybe Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, which we're going to talk about a little later in the show, the Cardinals are very bullish on Tip. I have my concerns from an athletic standpoint, from a value standpoint, but like Tip Ryman, I mean, he's getting his fill with the 1s and 2s enough to say, okay, at least he's going to be playing, Bo.
Yeah. You want me to talk about your boy Tip?
You see him.
Tip watch.
Here's what I will say. Yesterday at practice,
Tip watch.
He snagged the ball. I think it was on a seam route, and it's really good doing it. But like, I'm not going to sit here and say like he's Trey McBride, but his strength isn't on display yet. The pads just got on. That's
right.
He's
going to excel in the C gap, right?
Yeah.
And it's not going to be, oh man, here's 12 personnel. They got, Trey McBride and those wide receivers and Tip. Look out for Tip. Like, no, Tip's going to, have Kyler gone through his progressions, and then there's a wide open Tip catch and try to make a play, probably, fall down. But like, he's going to set the tone in the run game, and that's his role. And, you had at the end of this thing, 4 third-rounders, right? 4 third-rounders. They started with 3 and acquired another one, and they ended up taking Tip, and he's got this role. And I think that he's going to get his hands dirty in the run game, and he's going to put some defensive backs, some linebackers on the turf, and that's where you're going to be like, hell yeah. But I just think like if he has the same season he had at Illinois, where it's like a couple catches, 200 yards, and maybe finds the end zone, that's fine. I think that's a win.
Year 1, yes. I think as a rookie, that's your expectation is be physical.
If he immediately is the best blocking tight end in the room, I think now that draft season's over and we get out of the minutia of like, what was it worth the where he was drafted, but like he has a role on this team. And I think he's going to play his role very well.
That would be impressive though, because Trey McBride got the 3rd best blocking grade of any tight end in football last year. So
did he really?
Yeah, 62.3, ranks 3rd among 33 qualifying tight ends.
Who were the top tight ends, by the way?
I don't have that.
Oh, it doesn't have it up there.
For me.
Okay, all right. I thought you had like the league leaders or something.
I think, gentlemen, it's a worthy pick this year. Everybody's getting it after just the Tip in the chat. I respect that. If
from Damon Pog, Tip's family is awaiting your apology.
No, there are no apologies right now. No apologies on flipping July 30th. Check back on October 30th. Right? Let's see how he does in pass protection. Let's see how he does in the run game. That's my point. If he's playing a lot and they are humming offensively, and they say he's an integral piece of what we want to do offensively, even though he does not directly touch the football, I'm okay with that. If they have another top 10 rushing offense, if they're putting up 30 points per game, and Tip Ryman's playing 60 to 65% of the snaps, I'll come on the show and say, you know what? I get it. They had a plan. Good on them. I didn't see it. I see it now. I apologize. But if Tip Ryman is playing about 30% of the snaps, and it's Elijah Higgins, and it's Trey McBride, and it's 4 receiver sets or 3 receiver sets with Trey, and Tip can't get on the field, and I see him as a specialist, I'm going to say, well, wait a minute. Could this have been done with a 4th or 5th rounder? So we got a lot of ball left to go here.
You've got that holster. You're ready to go. Well, wait a minute.
I'm not even going. I'm being fair to Tip Ryman, and I'm not going off of his statistics this year. You talked about 200 yards. I am looking at how often is he on the field logging snaps, and then we'll look at the PFF metrics every Monday.
I want to see him. I want to see him and Jonah Williams and Will Hernandez, or flip it, and it's Paris and Evan Brown, and they're teaming up to absolutely just bulldoze a huge rushing lane.
Yeah.
For a guy like James Conner, and he makes his way to the end zone. You say, there you go. There's Tip Ryman just creating space and moving people. I think that would be fantastic. That's where his value lies. I'm not going to training camp. I don't have my camera on him running routes like I do with Marv or Trey McBride.
Right.
And
It's
I
harder
wasn't
to
like
see the
shocked by
flashes.
Trey McBride being the third best block. I think he's a very good blocker, and I know that he puts in the work. I just was surprised that he rated that highly already.
So much shade. I'm getting so much shade in the chat. I want him to do well. I don't root against any Cardinal players.
After pickleball and all that, and you're still taking flag. It's really sad.
It is
I
sad.
forgot who it was. Someone, I think it was Julian Cisneros, who watches the program,
Yeah.
friend of the program. He put in the comments that Johnny's a real man. He doesn't need a lifted truck or a beer chug to prove it.
No, he doesn't.
That's right. That's right. And I don't need Tip to have 500 yards receiving, but I do need him to contribute. And I'm going to contribute to everybody's bank account right now, by the way, with our friends at Bet365. Never ordinary. Again, I don't know if you guys know this or not. There's a little preseason debut football action this coming Thursday. Caleb Williams not playing for the Chicago Bears, which is what's that trash about? Is Caleb Williams afraid to play in the NFL?
Fraud watch.
Remember we were at the combine and some guy was like, "Are you afraid to compete?" And Caleb Williams was like, "What?
You remember that? Are you afraid to work out and compete?" It always, this time of year always brings me back to Blaine Gabbert, who was like in the 4th or 5th year of his career. He's like, it's an honor to start in the Hall of Fame game. And you're like, Blaine, you're like 10th overall pick, dude. Like you should be way above playing in the Hall of Fame game. But
Brady's backup in that Super Bowl year with Bruce Arians. Houston at Chicago this week. No Caleb Williams, but you can still wager on it. I probably will. I know I will be on Bet365 on Thursday, dabbling on some cutie props. And, well, if you're not familiar with Bet365, welcome to 90 million users worldwide right now using this fine application. 780,000 events each year, NBA, NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball, and more. They have pioneered, as does Bet365, live in-game bettings, and they offer early payouts, which I will need early and often this year. Use that bonus code PHNX365. Deposit $10 and you get 1 of 2 bets as your initial bet. You can do the bet and get offer. Place $5 or more and get $150 in bonus bets. I have taken full advantage of that. I know a bunch of people have in the chat. They've sent me their winning tickets. I love it. Or you can go big or go home with the first bet safety net offer by placing a bet up to $1,000, Bo and Damon. If your qualifying bet loses, you receive a match refund and bonus bets on Bet365. We love Bet365. They are never ordinary. They boost your winnings and even your parlays. Keep an eye out for custom PHNX bets and boosts. Maybe I'll get to put together a little Johnny's parlay. We know we're going to be talking a lot of betting over the course of the NFL season. So get started now. Download Bet365 right now, the app, and use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. You got to be 21 years and older, gentlemen, physically located here in the great state of Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, well, you want to help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov, Bo, for more information.
Absolutely. Lots of questions about what is a man. And look, Johnny absolutely is that, but I'll tell you, there's no questions asked.
Who's asking that question?
In a F-150. That's right. Ford, Sanderson Ford. We love our friends over at Sanderson Ford. It's the official vehicle partner of PHNX Sports. All this talk about my truck and, you guys claim it's lifted. It's not, but it's getting up there in mileage, and it's time to pivot to some new. And I'm going to go check out what my friends over at Sanderson Ford have to offer. Of course, it starts with how they deal with you, right? You're not going to get any better communication. You're not going to get any better as far as finding the deal that's right for you than Sanderson Ford. They've got the summer sales event. It's here, and they're teaming up with our boys of summer, the Snakes, who are hot, Corbin Carroll walk-off. Did you see it? For their final playoff payoff sale. Purchase or lease any new Ford and get 4 tickets for you and your family to see the Diamondbacks push for the playoffs. You get that 0% for 36 months. AOC from Ford Credit. See dealer for details. Cannot wait to get over there, see our friends over at Sanderson Ford, and see what beautiful truck they can get me into.
We got highlights coming just around the corner, but before we do, let's get to some super chats. Doc XD, $9.99. Thank you so much, Doc, for supporting the show on that level. Yo, what's up, guys? Finally able to catch one of these live. Welcome, friend. Different account, so it says first super. We appreciate you nonetheless, my friend. Always listen to the previous vids while at work, though. Much love from Maryland yet again. Well, Doc, we appreciate you. First time, anytime. Hopefully things are going well out on the East Coast, and we can get you to Arizona for a Cardinal game this fall.
Is that our guy that came out to the draft party all the way from Maryland? Because so good to talk to you again. Thank you so much for the $9.99 super chat. Let's keep him going.
Yeah. Here's Cardi D, friend of the program. $5. Hey, Bird Gangers, PHNX crew, Jobo, D-Dog, Ozzy, and Jess Jason A. It's been a while, but I haven't missed the show. Well, Cardi D, it's good to see you, my friend. Follow Cardi D on Instagram. Great follow. Great Cardinal fan. And
I do too.
He's a great follow. And I think
I need to get on that train.
I know. Well, Damon and I are very close.
Some of us love our listeners, and Bo kind of just sees this as a means to an end. Johnny and I are like, this is family.
We did.
Out.
I'm out there talking to the people.
It's our life, Damon. It's our life.
Wow.
You're exactly right.
What's up, Cardi D? Good to have you back during a live show. How about Jason, who he said hi to? Jason Angelini saying, this super chat goes out to the man, the myth, the legend, Damon Dog. Take a bow, homie. I'm so effing excited about this season. Hashtag HTL, hashtag LFG.
You flatter me, Jason. I appreciate you.
He's doing well. He's keeping his head up after a tough weekend on the pickleball courts. How about our
just had to bring me down? Needed that.
Yeah, we can't let you get too high here. Potato Bread. Is this the first super chat from Potato Bread with the emojis?
That's a wild avatar.
Yeah. Hey guys, love the show. I've seen a video of Gerard Mayo sending Matt Judon home.
Oh, damn.
Do you all think Monty would have any interest in trading for him?
Well, he wants a new contract. He's been sitting out. He's also 31 years old, is Matt Judon, and he had 4 sacks last year. I think the Cardinals would want him on the team. I mean, he had 15 and a half sacks 2 years ago. So like a lot of guys, Potato Bread, like if he's available and the price is right, I'm sure they would kick the tires. They want a lot of guys. They'd love Hassan Reddick on the team, but it's just the hurdles to overcome that. I don't think they have an appetite, and it could be wrong, Bo, to send a draft pick to New England for a guy that's 31 and wants a new deal. Cardinals aren't going to give Matt Judon a big money contract at 31. They're just not.
Yeah, you'd have to really look at all the variables that go into a player that's having a hold-in situation because of kind of the culture that they've established here, which is not it's a we not me kind of mentality. It's a team mentality. And with, I know that they've done studies on whether or not momentum exists, but like as far as the wave that they're riding into the 2024 season, and they're always looking to upgrade. The price would just absolutely have to be right. And I don't know if they view Judon as somebody worthy of making a trade for.
Right.
But if he did become available, I'm sure they would do their homework on that.
Yeah, do their due diligence. But again, see how the group does now that they're padded up. They may see enough here over the course of the next couple of days. They're certainly seeing enough from the 27th overall pick. Keeping the super chats going. Doc is back, $1.99. Also, shout out Damon Dog. We younglings got to stick together.
That's right. A couple old guys like Johnny and Bo, getting past their prime a little bit.
Well,
just a couple ancient guys.
Jason,
I like that, though.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, 19, 20 years old, Damon? Is that how old you guys are? Jason, $5 super chat. We have the bodies for a great year. Now, Petzin's job is to keep defenses guessing and like K1 pick them apart. Like, again, Jason, I was talking to Bo on the sideline yesterday. I was just like, they have more answers than questions. Do they have questions about maybe interior offensive line depth? Yes. Do they have questions about pass rusher and maybe number one corner? Absolutely. But the end all be all is if Kyler Murray stays healthy, they have enough talent to get to the postseason. Now, if Kyler Murray misses 6-7 games, they're not going to make the playoffs, right? That's just the nature of the NFL. But talent that's on display at State Farm Stadium right now at training camp, I mean, it's dramatically better. I mean, how could it not be from last year? But there's a lot of positives right now that would lead you to believe this team's going to be in the mix for 17 weeks, Bo.
Yeah, I think that as far as just the infusion of young talent, like they've churned this roster, right? And they've added already 9 and then 12 over the last 2 draft periods, plus undrafted guys that have emerged, like Amari Dermacado, who's going to be fighting for a roster spot, have emerged, and guys that they added before, the start of the regular season that they were able to kind of pick up off waivers from other teams like Elijah Higgins and Starling Thomas. So they've done a lot of great things as far as their player evaluation, their scouting, and then also that started to show itself in free agency where they found guys who aren't big names, they aren't superstars, but they're guys that are scheme fits, and they're guys that are going into the prime of their football careers that I think are going to raise the talent floor for this roster. And you're just seeing that they've been able to do that steadily since tearing it to the studs from the previous regime in the 2023 offseason.
Yeah, picking spreads, Donnie, friend of the program, $2. NFL is back. Glad I could stream PHNX Cardinals or PHNX up bomb emoji.
Yeah,
I like it. It's the bomb. The show is the bomb. Absolutely.
Thank you. I don't know if that's what he's saying. I don't know if he's that. Now you're making us look even older with that. Saying that
they're the bomb. Johnny and Bo, the bomb. Stop. Richard 199. What's the running back room look like? Well, let's talk about it. Bo Brock, I thought Amari DiMercato would be the odd man out. He might still be. The Cardinals are going to keep the top 4 in the depth chart. James Conner, Michael Carter, Trey Benson, and DJ Dallas, who they signed out of Seattle. They're not cutting him. Do the Cardinals carry 5 running backs, or do they opt to let DiMercato hit the waiver wire and or the practice squad?
This has emerged as a position battle of sorts. I think that DiMercato is now, just hearing comments from his head coach, from Jonathan Gannon, very complimentary. Love what he's seen from DiMercato on third down. Obviously he's a guy that can play teams. He's kind of been the second string kickoff team, right? And it seems like they're putting back, a bigger guy like DJ Dallas is with Greg Dortch. It's going to be Amari DiMercato back there with somebody who's maybe quick like Greg Dortch. I don't, he signed a 4-year deal, or no, he didn't sign a 4-year deal. As far as his contract, I don't think it's something that you can't get out from under. He's only got guaranteed salary like this season. I think that DJ Dallas and DiMercato are fighting for the 4th running back spot.
Yeah.
And I think 4 is probably the number. DiMercato might be somebody that they can sneak onto the practice squad potentially. But, I think he's shown enough to where he should be appealing to, the other 31 teams potentially. But, other teams are going to be in a numbers crunch too. But I don't know if there's a future where they carry 5 running backs.
Just feels like with the amount of question marks they have at pass rusher, right, and the bodies that they want to carry in the offensive line, the depth, the equal, if not better depth at receiver and tight end, it's a luxury, right? And I think in a perfect world, you could try to stash DiMercato on your practice squad. But again, you've got the head coach coming out and openly praising him. He's been praised by his offensive coordinator. Like, I wonder if they could have a mulligan. And again, we haven't seen DJ Dallas live in a game returning kickoffs, but being where they're at now, had they known that Trey Benson would be available and DiMercato would look as good as he does, and you've got Michael Carter for another year, I wonder if they would have said, you know what, we could probably wait on a kick returner. But it's a good problem to have. Let the chips fall where they may this preseason. I would imagine DiMercato is going to get a lot of action. You could showcase him. And maybe you could do a player-for-player trade at the end of training camp. If you really were in a bind and somebody needed... I mean, look at his statistics last year. Averaged over 5 yards per carry, had some explosive runs, And Michael Carter and James Conner are not under contract after this year, too. And I'm sure that plays a part in it. You could have a backfield with Trey Benson, DeMercado quickly in 2025. And the last thing they want to do, when you find an undrafted free agent that performs as well as he did for you, he was great in pass protection, he can have big explosive plays. I think he had one against San Francisco. You don't want to gift that player away. Like Kyle Shanahan hoards backs every year. Pet's the disciple of his offense. So I don't know, the more I talk about it, I talk myself into like, maybe DJ Dallas is the one to go. Maybe that's the shocker at training camp.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be necessarily the biggest, like it wouldn't be earth shaking, right? You're looking at him and you would have to absorb some cap, but like $2.3 million, but they can do that potentially. And, I think that it's going to, as JG and Monty work and collaborate so well, they're going to obviously put in the work and make their case. And then I think, Gannon obviously and Petzing and also, special teams coach Jeff Rogers are going to have their input on who's going to be able to be the difference maker and utilize that roster spot. And it doesn't, like, if DeMercado doesn't make this roster, it doesn't spell the end of his Cardinals career with the bigger practice squad.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have some clips from practice today. Let's start with some JG, who met with you and the fellow Phoenix media here, Bo Brock, specifically about kind of the tempo he's seen from his offense, because I thought the first team offense yesterday when I was at camp looked fantastic. And by all accounts, they kept it going today behind Kyler Murray. Damon, if we could, let's hear from JG on the offense.
Drew and both Iz and Kyler, like when you're on the same page of what needs to happen to win, the speed at which you communicate and get things done is cool to see. And with Kyler, there's no distractions ever about anything other than ball. So it's like you just get right to ball, So I was in that meeting last night, and I mean they cover a lot quick, and there's a high level of detail and understanding. And I know that's the quarterback position. I never coached it, but that position, is what it is for a reason. And they talk to him like he's a coach, you know what I mean? And he talks to them like he's a coach. So just a level of understanding. And Clayton and Dez are doing a good job too. You know what I mean? Clayton being in his second year in this system, and it's evolved. You know what I mean? Dez has played a lot of ball, but a different system. There's some same plays, obviously, with Arthur and with Dave Ragone, in Atlanta, but it's different terminology, different thinking, different vision of how that goes, different footwork, all those things. So they're all three of them are doing a good job.
So kind of a look into why the offense is come out hot early in training camp, and Kyler Murray continues to change the narrative and by his organization, his head coach, his play caller, the GM, and backing their quarterback and saying that Kyler just first thing he wants to do, and really the only thing he wants to do, is talk football. Yeah. And there's no outside noise that's distracting him and keeping him and removing his focus from that. And, that's why it's easy for him, because he's in those meeting rooms and he's asking questions. He's answering questions. He's leading away, as Gannon kind of said, like a player coach. And that's huge for this team. And it's huge for that room.
And again, it feeds into what hopefully becomes the new national narrative on Kyler Murray. And speaking of that narrative, Bo, Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, that we know has been out at practice this week, has an article up. I would encourage everybody to go read it. It's really well done, but the general thesis, Bo, of the article is just the emphasis of the backing of Kyler Murray from his head coach, his general manager, and the fact that K1, Kyler knows that it's time to win games. Like, put your leadership, your trademarks, everything on the table, and all that's great. But if you're not producing with W's in a system now that's very quarterback friendly, then it doesn't really matter. But here's Jonathan Gannon on Kyler Murray. This is a direct quote on the narrative that was surrounding K1 when Jonathan Gannon took over as head coach. Damon, if we could put that on the screen. Basically, if the national narrative surrounding quarterback Kyler Murray was fair, F no, 1,000%. So again, the general consensus from the public compared to what Gannon and Austin Ford and the coaching staff have seen from K1 sounds like they're night and day opposite. And we've heard that from Michael Wilson. We've heard that from Paris Johnson Jr. And again, I feel like no one's without fault from how the prior regime ended, Kyler Murray included, right? And he probably would and has owned some of that. But I just feel like when you get the further you get away from the Cliff Kingsbury, Steve Keim era and how those two individuals have fallen out of favor, specifically Steve Keim, how this roster was poorly constructed, and then how Monty Ossenford and Jonathan Gannon had every opportunity to say, you know what, Kyler, we're good. We're going to go in a different direction. And they continue to double down on him. It's got to make you feel good if you're K1. And now it's all about winning games. But I mean, Charles Robinson's not reporting anything we haven't already heard, but it's great to get that out in the national spotlight now.
Yeah. Yeah. And he talked about it a little bit, Kyler himself yesterday, you know, coming into this organization as 21-year-old, and how he was surrounded by a ton of vets who took on their own shoulders to kind of be the leaders in that locker room. And then when it was time for him to transition to that leader, you know, I think that there was, you know, the organization wanted to see more of a step forward there. And look, the maturation is not always pretty. I mean, we all go through it as, you know, 20 somethings, and, you know, I'm still doing it at my age. I think that now, like, the organization's in a way better spot as far as providing Kyler Murray the tools and the infrastructure to be successful. It's not all kind of squarely on his shoulders to be like, okay, we want you to become a leader of this team. Like, okay, well, how do I do that? How do I go from, you know, collegiate star to top draft pick to emerging player to, okay, this locker room is now mine, and this sideline is mine, and this huddle is mine. Like, it's way harder than it, you know, it's not easier said than done.
I don't think we had a chance to talk about it on yesterday's show, but there's a quote from Kyler Murray at the press conference, and if you can find it on the Cardinals YouTube page, I would encourage you to do so. And I think he was asked about his leadership approach and how things have changed, and it's something that Bo and I have speculated. We've speculated, Bo, for some time, that when Kyler Murray arrived in Arizona, there were big personalities. There were legacy players like Larry Fitzgerald. And those players, fair or not, dominated the zeitgeist of a locker room where it was hard for Kyler Murray as a 21-year-old to come in and own the locker room. And I think that, again, not to make excuses for anybody, this is the first time where this is Kyler Murray's team. And I believe last year was Kyler Murray's team at the second half of the year. Yeah. And now you're in a position where you see these guys, 25, 26 or younger, follow Kyler Murray. They have mutual respect, right? And I think Kyler Murray thrives in a leadership role. But it's hard in any capacity. You ask somebody who's maybe made a leader or a manager in their line of work, and they have to go and lead somebody 20 years their senior or 15 years their senior. That's uncomfortable. That takes time to develop. Then you expedite it by, these are alpha males. These are guys that are making big time bloated salaries. In the case of J.J. Watt and A.J. Green and Rodney Hudson, these are legacy players in the NFL. Like, I feel like, you know, it's great when an Andrew Luck can do it. It's great when a Joe Burrow can do it. Can we just give the guy a little bit of slack that, oh, I'm sorry you couldn't command a locker room with a bunch of guys that were in their late 20s, early 30s. Not many people could do that. And I think this is much closer to the Kyler Murray that's always been there. But again, a lot of people in this franchise organization made mistakes, but they're remedying it right now. They have every reason to be excited because of what's transpiring in the locker room.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I think that this organization, the vibes around training camp and the facility in Tempe haven't been this high since the BA days, right? And I mean, that included a 2021 run to the postseason. I mean, they certainly backed into that postseason and started to show what proved to be some fatal flaws as far as how they operated. And, you know, the 2022 season was just, it was brutal. And I think it was, you know, even before the serious injury, the most serious to date for Kyler with the ACL tear, it was an eye opener, right? And I think that he did some, took a hard look at himself in how his process, how he operated, and where he wanted to kind of move forward and how he's going to go about it, and how he missed the game and how the game was taken from him, and just how he performed or underperformed. And I think that now it's all about doing everything in his power to help this organization move forward and become relevant again, win games. Like you said it yesterday, like even through all this, the last 5 years, I'm not used to losing this much. And he wants to change that narrative, and he wants to be the guy to take him out of the basement.
Absolutely. We're going to get to Kyler Murray and these highlights from training camp today. But first, let's tell you about our friends at Circle K. When we're en route, Bo, Damon Dog, to Glendale State Farm Stadium, stop off at Circle K. I was on my way home yesterday, and I was struggling big time. I had to fill up my tank, and I needed an infusion of snacks and goodies, and I did so with our friends at America's Thirst Stop, just down the street from the stadium. And again, free new membership program. Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Save 3 cents per gallon every single day. Enjoy a member-exclusive beverage deal. Again, it's triple digits consistently out here in Arizona. How about a Polar Pop or Froster for just 79 cents now through September 3rd at any Arizona location, gentlemen? And again, all you got to do, download the Inner Circle Circle K app today, click on offers, and reap those benefits. Cheap gas, great food, great prices. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com, Bo, for more details.
You heard us talk about it yesterday. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, but of course, Damon Dog and Johnny did participate in our Chicken and Pickle PHNX pickleball tournament. It was elite. If you haven't been out there, check out Chicken and Pickle. The vibes are unbelievable. It's in the shadow of State Farm Stadium over there, Westgate area. Had an unbelievable time, and that's because they do everything right over there at Chicken Pickle, whether it's just getting a draft beer from the bar, one of their handmade cocktails there, so delicious, plus their food, their menu is outstanding. Go out there and just grab some of their dips, some of their handhelds, some of their wings. Johnny, they're monstrous wings, man. They're fantastic.
Big as my head.
The burgers are unbelievable as well, and then, of course, what they do so well is chicken, and then the pickleball. Hit the pickleball courts. They got, even if you're new to the sport, newbie nights are just for you. Get courts with others who are ready to dink around. Instruction is facilitated, plays included. Plus, every participant receives a $10 Chicken and Pickle gift card. Head to chickenandpickle.com to see the fun you can have at their Glendale location.
Love Chicken and Pickle. Again, had a blast at the pickleball tournament with PHNX Sports this past Saturday. Can't wait to hang out at future events at Chicken and Pickle, like our tailgate event, like trivia night. I mean, it's a great place, great vibes. And it's great if you're out, especially in the West Valley out there by the stadium. It's quickly becoming, Bo, one of my go-to places here in the Valley.
That's not true, Joseph. I was not too scared to show up for pickleball. My babysitter dropped out, and my partner was my wife.
We've all been there, man.
I love that Johnny's he's right there for me.
The one thing I want to F around about Damon is I know how hard it is to get a babysitter. I know how hard it is to watch somebody watch your kids. So I felt the pain in Bo's voice when he called me Friday. And it's just like, we are scrambling. So
tears in his eyes.
Yeah.
It meant everything to him showing up to that pickleball tournament.
I would love nothing more than to stomp on his grave today and say, you bailed, you coward, you were afraid.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that was not the case. So
I can be that guy. I'll wear that crown if I have to.
You will. I can count on you for that. Absolutely. I can count on my dear co-host and my producer to get phenomenal highlights every day at training camp. Mr. Bo Brock, what's on the docket today at State Farm Stadium?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about a little Darius Robinson. We talked about a little Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler Murray slinging it out there. Let's take a look from our day 6 camp highlights. Oh, Michael Wilson in the red zone going up against Elijah Jones. You could see, the flag came on that play with the ref back. Yeah, it was. But Michael Wilson wins. Then you got Buddha, tough assignment against Greg Dortch here. A little fade to the back of the end zone. Michael Wilson again getting open across that one. Jaden Davis, who we had in studio earlier this offseason. This is Kyler. He's going to find Greg Dortch over the middle. Those two were connecting often against Garrett Williams in the slot. This is going to be some Darius Robinson just pushing people around. Look at how quick, nice little move there. nearly got to Desmond Ridder, and then you have him again, Clayton Tune in at quarterback, and you're seeing him run by him, and I think that's probably a sack. Obviously, you don't want to hit the quarterback here, and then this is it. This is the Marv play. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Greg Dortch to the corner of the end zone.
Dortch had a great practice.
I know. He was all over the place. This is the play. So Froholdt, you'll see him get rolled up in the background, and then Garrett Williams all over Marvin Harrison Jr., and he still brings it in, holds on to the football all the way to the ground.
Tears in my eyes.
It is. It's a great moment. It's a great moment.
Kyler Murray looking flipping locked in. We talk a lot about this rookie class. We talk about the complementary of weapons, but I mean, saw it yesterday firsthand. Bo doubled down today. I mean, it's as good as Kyler Murray's looked since he's come back from his torn ACL. Knock on wood. Like I feel like last year, knocking the rust off in combination with maybe an underwhelming receiving core at times. Now it's you add the 4th overall pick, you add another year of good health and production from Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch and Trey McBride and Zay Jones now in the mix and a bunch of backs. I mean, like it's all right there for K1.
Yeah.
And I think he knows that. His press conference was incredibly honest and blunt, and just somebody asked him, it was a great question. It's like, what do you need to do to get the deep ball back? And he's just like, I just got to play. And that's really it. Like, he consistently plays. He'll find that deep ball again. His arm's still as good as it ever was.
Yeah, somebody asked me today, hadn't seen anything in the reporting as far as Kyler Murray interception. We haven't seen one. Like, there's been a couple close calls. Like, Garrett Williams nearly got his one-handed interception, but he's taking care of the football pretty well during his time. I mean, we've talked about this. Like, Kyler gets his work with the ones, and then, you know, it's then the big time battle at the quarterback position. Who's going to be his backup? So I really think that there's an emphasis on getting snaps for Desmond Ridder and Clayton Tune, and really knowing like who's going to be that guy potentially if Kyler can't go at any point during the season. So, but Kyler Murray's taking care of the football, and you know he's been efficient, and like yes, when they put the pads on Monday, like I felt like he came out and he turns his intensity up a notch.
Yeah,
where he was making plays downfield. He was making plays downfield with players that obviously he's comfortable with. Like we're seeing Dortch, we're seeing Michael Wilson, and then the incorporation of Marvin Harrison Jr. And then of course, Trey McBride's also there. So I think Kyler looks like we haven't seen much of him in training camp. So like it's not saying much, but it's also he's looked the best he's ever looked.
Let's get to some of these super chats here. Mr. Saint S Bag, bag 199 update on Yell to Froholdt. Bo, you shared at the top of the show. Scary roll up, was walking okay after practice. Now our Craig Morgan, beat reporter for PHNX Cardinals, we retweeted it. That looks good. Post practice sounds like the Cardinals, according to Craig Morgan, walking on his own. Just fine, nothing on his legs. So no wrap, no boot, nothing. So, Bo, you keep me honest here. Sounds like the Cardinals avoided disaster.
It was unbelievable reporting on our behalf by being in the right place at the right time to have Yellow Froholdt walk past and Craig Morgan catching it. Froholdt walking out of the stadium, just walking fine on his own, as he said, nothing on his leg. And like I said, like when the injury happened, and you could see it in that Marv play. He gets rolled up on, and then, I think precautionary, like he's on the turf, trainers are looking at him, then he gets up on his own, walks off on his own, gingerly, right? And, and then Craig sees him. So we'll see. We're not going to be able, the cards are off tomorrow from camp, and the first update we'll likely get is come Thursday. Yeah.
Again, proceed with utmost caution. I mean, he's a guy who knows the offense inside and out. I don't need to see him, at any point this preseason if they deem it necessary or not. But then that, begs the question, what do you do with your quarterback? Doc is back, 199. You hit the nail right on the head, Johnny. I'm 19 years old. Wow, how about it? Damon to me, Damon, what are you, 24, 25?
24.
My birthday, bro, is going to turn 25 on Friday.
You guys have the same birthday?
Yeah.
I think I forgot about that. Damon could pull for 21, I think. And on a good night, could look 21 years old.
Well, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but sure, I'll take it.
He's got
I want the baby face as long
he's
as you
got
can
the
have it.
facial hair though, and he's got a good beard at his age.
If Damon shaved his his face, and then more like a t-shirt.
Oh, I'd look 12.
Yeah.
If I shave my facial hair, I'm very, very young looking. For
that
sure.
might happen in Miami. Talking
for the
about
wedding.
Miami. Here in a second. Yeah. Kyler Plummer, $5. Johnny, how much did you bet on Bet365 that Tip gets cut? Oh my God. I don't want Tip to fail. I have my skepticisms. Listen, I can't win on this podcast, because I can be positive and then I'm a fanboy and then I'm critical and people are like, you're such a hater and you hate everything. It's like, I was critical of his draft position where they took him. I thought the value was probably a round or two later. Tip getting cut would be a disaster. I don't want that. I want him to smear my, just like Dennis Gardeck, like go out there and smear my face in it and make me eat crow, and I'll be cheering you on because I want this team to succeed. But like if I have a strong opinion about something, like I think the pass rush needs help. I think Tip Ryman, I don't know if that was good value, right? Like I have some question marks.
Yeah, let's keep it going with these super chats. Here we go. How about Illa Dre jumping in with how's Keitrell Clark and the other CBs looking? So we like what we've seen from Max Melton, obviously the top corner that they took in this draft in the second round. We like what we've seen from Garrett Williams. I mean, he was all over Marv on that play. You saw Elijah Jones with tough coverage on Michael Wilson, even though he was like the ref that was at practice did flag him on that. Got a little too physical. And then like Keitrell, I think he's had a couple pass breakups there. And then also we liked what we saw from Starling Thomas with the pick 6 yesterday. I think that those guys are going to provide excellent depth to whoever wins out, the starting battles for this team.
Yeah, I think Starling Thomas is really helping himself, and Keitrell Clark's a really sound tackler. Like cornerback room, I mean, this is what happens when you draft damn near like 5 of them in 2 years, but nice infusion of youth and a hell of a lot better than what they had last year. Illa Dre, so much better. So good for Starling Thomas, too. Had a really good practice while I was there yesterday. Donnie picking spreads is back, 5 spot. We appreciate you, Donnie. D-Rob is the leanest 285 I've ever seen. It's insane. Not a top athlete, but he's so strong and he really knows how to not waste movement. Excited for him. Well, I think he's a pretty good athlete. He was always considered, Donnie, a first-round pick. Now is he considered a top 20 pick, a top 15 pick? Like he went exactly where mock drafts had him going, between the Lions. I think I saw him, mock to Buffalo, and then the Cardinals majority of draft season. I just feel like, and I said this on a different show, he reminds me of a Cameron Hayward that the Pittsburgh Steelers would get at the back half of the first round. Guys that you're fired up because the Cardinals just took a top 10 bust. And then, oh, by the way, before the draft's over, a good team with their head on their shoulders is going to take a defensive lineman that's going to be good for 10 years for them and just going to quietly go about their business. So here's what I will say. I think next year they're going to take an edge rusher or a defensive lineman in the first round, and they're going to get all the accolades. They're going to get all the press. But you've got a guy now in the fold that is such a night and day difference maker compared to what you had last year. It's not even close.
Yeah.
His floor is insane, I think.
Yeah.
Like he has one of the highest floors of any prospect in the draft. And physically, like when you're on field level with him, or when we were interviewing him for Super Bowl, he is just a massive human being. I think from like, you say he's not like a top athlete, Donnie. I think that when you're comparing him against edge rushers with his RAS, he is in a top level athlete. But because he's so much bigger than them, his size grades are in the top percentiles. But when you're comparing him to D tackles, his RAS is really, really high.
Yeah, he's not a Jalen Carter. He's not even a Byron Murphy this year. But he's in that next tier, and he could end up being a better player than those guys based on his work ethic alone.
Yeah. Danny Redbirds, $4.99, keeping it going. Thank you for the super chat, my guy. Always good to hear from you. No one talking about 14 much. We don't talk about Michael Wilson enough here. With MHJ on the other, he's gonna ball out too. Breakout for Wilson. Book it. # patty cake time. We don't talk about Michael Wilson on this team enough.
I think this program talks about Michael Wilson a lot. We love Michael Wilson.
I think we're going to talk about Michael Wilson a lot more on this.
I think Johnny would take a bullet for Michael Wilson.
This show, Donnie, last year, in all seriousness, was the Michael Wilson show because it's really all we had.
Yeah.
Like we watch practice and be like, hey, 14's really good in Paris. But now it's like, it's not like he's old news, but like we've been singing his praises since the spring, telling people that the Cardinals do have a number 2 receiver to Marvin. But yeah, every time I see a highlight, he's catching touchdown passes. I mean, like, would it shock anybody? Here's a talking point. Would it shock anybody if Michael Wilson had 10 touchdowns this year? Would not shock me at all.
No, I mean, he's poised for a breakout, and everything, all the data that you're seeking for, even the stuff, off the field where he's developing his relationship with Kyler, it just points to him being a big emphasis in this offense. And it's going to be undeniable, even with Marvin Harrison Jr. being incorporated in this offense.
They complement each other so well too. We're fired up. We're going to compliment each other right now. You look handsome today, Bo Brock.
Thanks,
but you're going to look even more handsome in some PHNX Cardinals gear at gophnx.com. Become a diehard. Pick up a free hat and or shirt anytime you become a diehard. Like this fine little ditty here. This is the Phoenix t-shirts, Cardinals t-shirt.
Rising.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Phoenix Rising t-shirt. And then, of course, shop the number 18 collection with the hottest shirt we've ever done. It's in my closet right now. Sometimes I don't even wear it. I just look at it, the MHJT. And then on the left-hand side, we've got the Maserati Marv T and the math T. 1 + 18 = 6. Tutty, that was the case today. It's almost like we knew that was going to happen, so we made that shirt, and you already got Marv catching tutties at State Farm Stadium. It's the prophecy has been fulfilled, and it all started at phnxlocker.com. Become a diehard. Shop the number 18 collection today. It warms my heart to go out to training camp, and we see PHNX Cardinals merch in the stands like our guy Gene yesterday. What's up, Gene? Rocking his Bird Gang tee. We got Coach Starks out there in his Greg Dortch t-shirt.
How about our guy Jesse and his wife Cecilia giving us these unbelievable.
Wow, that's nice. You might just have to wear that around town.
I want it.
You have one?
He made one for me?
One. Isn't it great?
That's really cool.
I get one of those? That's unbelievable. We have the best.
I mean, if Damon doesn't leave the studio with it.
Damon, don't you can touch it. So much of my stuff gets stolen. My Boba Fett helmet gets stolen. That's unbelievable.
Is this a poncho? Is that the correct term?
Yes.
Yeah. I got a poncho.
That's
elite.
Poncho.
That looks like it was. Did they make that?
That
looks like they made that.
That's pretty unbelievable.
That looks handcrafted.
That looks good on you, Bo.
Appreciate it.
I'm thinking you've always been a poncho guy. You just didn't know it.
I had no clue. So thanks to, I mentioned them, the incredible family that's out there day in and day out at camp for their generosity. They're so nice. I talk to them each and every practice, and they showed me the most incredible cards cave I've ever seen with so much great stuff on the walls in their living room. And then they provide us with these unbelievable Cardinal ponchos.
Matt saying you're looking like Clint Eastwood rocking that poncho.
You feeling lucky, punk?
Could have gone without that. That's incredible. Again, we have the best diehards, the best community in not only the Cards community, but the NFL landscape. And that's just an example. Become a diehard and hang with us in the Discord, PHNX Cardinal Discord, popping consistently. And it's going to continue to ramp up. We've got so much good stuff going on. We've got tailgates events, Chicken and Pickle. We've got diehards, Discord, and then we've got a trip that we're taking October 25th through the 28th in South Beach. PHNX Cardinals takes Miami. As the Arizona Cardinals take on the Miami Dolphins, we will be there. Packages starting as low as $12.99, and that includes flights, airfare, travel to and from the airport. How about a booze cruise, an alumni event with former Cardinal players? We're going to be hanging out all weekend en route to Sunday's coup de grace, the main event. Of course, we're tailgating together, and then we're going into the stadium and watching Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr. take on the newly paid Tua, Tyreek Hill and company. It's going to be a banner event. Join us right now only through our friends at truefantravel.com. That's truefantravel.com. More information in the description. Check it out in the show notes. I tell you right now, you will not find a cheaper trip to Miami than this to watch the Arizona Cardinals. It is the best value when you think about all the stuff that's included. We got more surprises on the horizon. It's the best thing this company's ever done, and we are so fortunate to be partnered with True Fan Travel. We got a bunch of people going. We got more spots, though. We want to see you and your loved ones with us in Miami. It's going to be a banner time, Bo.
Yeah, it is. It really is. You don't want to miss out on this. This is going to be the moment. This is going to be the event that you're going to have the ultimate FOMO for, that you're just like, damn, I missed out on that. I missed Damon getting married on the beach there in Miami, found the love of his life. And I could have been there. I could have been his best man or woman at the wedding when he was saying I do. I could have caught the bouquet.
It's still open.
It is still open. Your opportunity is still very much alive, and you just go to truefantravel.com. You go to gophnx.com/events, and you can find your way to our road trip to Miami. It's going to be elite. One last thing I'll say here. I don't know what the hell was going on in the chat earlier. Like, we love this community. This community is all about celebrating this team. Mike Jarecki joined the conversation for whatever reason. It took, what he's usually toxically tweeting out there, brought that toxicity to the chat. And I apologize for you guys having to deal with that. He just wanted people to see what he was saying for the first time in a long time. And he decided that he wanted to, degrade you guys. And you don't deserve that, because we love each and every one of you, part of the community. And that's not what we're about, coming in and calling people names and trying to, puff their chest out and say, this is who I am. You got to listen to what I have to say. It's not what we're about at all.
Nope. We're about this community. We're about hitting that like, and we're about holding the line with all of you. We appreciate you each and every day. It's the only reason we get to do this show is the 500 plus every single day on the premier Arizona Cardinal podcast, PHNX Cardinals. My dear friend Bo Brock gets a well-deserved off day tomorrow. We are back on Thursday as we prep for the red and white scrimmage on Saturday. Again, practice kicks off again Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Off day tomorrow, but we got a bunch of stuff dropping on the YouTube page. You got to be subscribed to the YouTube. Ring that bell for notifications, and also make sure to subscribe to PHNX Cardinals on your mobile device, your smartphone, so you are notified when we drop some audio-only content. Craig Morgan right now, he has the most detailed, in-depth pieces you will find on the Arizona Cardinals only in one place. Go PHNX.com. Craig's cranking out like an article per day. He's a madman. And I can tell you right now firsthand, and Bo can testify to this, he's up talking to players every single day in the clubhouse, in the locker room. This is not, hey, you read Craig's article, you can read it 5 other places. No. These are specific, these are detailed, and these are special pieces at gophnx.com. Read our beat reporter, Craig Morgan. Bo Brock, Damon Dog, I'm Johnny Venerable. Everybody have a fine rest of your Tuesday. We are back on a football Thursday. Take care.
We all silly like the mayor.